amazing.
All right, welcome to the Season 10 Dominion League Championship match. We are here with Steph and Lesputer, our two contenders for the championship title. I'm Adam, and with me is Deadlock. Hi, Deadlock.
Hello.
And it looks like the current situation is Steph needs 2.5 games to take down the title, and Lesputer will need to win 4 of these games in order to become the third ever Dominion League champion. Can he do it? Let's find out. So for starters, this first board was submitted by JW. Thank you, JW, for submitting this board. As always, you give us some good stuff, and we use it. It's pretty good. So this board, remember this guy?
Oh yeah.
So I really like this board. This is probably my favorite out of all of them.
This board makes my brain hurt. We played it a few times, and I mean, you can win with rebuild here if things go right. It seems like the engine is complicated, and without any trashing, it's a little slow to build up. But the engine is definitely competitive as well. We don't really expect these top players to be tempted by rebuild on this type of engine.
Okay, I need to figure out what's going on with Lesputer's hand here. So if you could fill some time here and talk a little more about what you think. Sorry.
Sure. I just clicked on Steph's screen. Hopefully that doesn't allow me to do anything. Yeah, so on this board, like I said, rebuild is a competitive option, but JSH asked about it being a Swindler Troll Kingdom, and it could be. In some of the games I played, Swindler, if it gets the right hits, can really shut down the engine, and it can really shut down rebuild. Rebuild probably has a little bit less vulnerability, but I played a game against myself on this board, and I swindled all 3 rebuilds out of the rebuild player's deck with Swindler. So, as always, if you get the right luck with Swindler, there's pretty much nothing your opponent can do.
Why is this not working? Sorry.
Oh,
I actually played this kingdom like a whole bunch. I played this kingdom more than any of the rest of them, and I walked away from it convinced that rebuild was best here. Wow, what is the issue here? This is terrible. I walked away from it convinced that rebuild was the best thing you could do here. And that's a little sad because rebuild is rebuild. However, there are several competing strategies here. Steph with the 5-2 is sort of in a different spot, so his draw is going to really determine a lot about what's going on here. He looks like he got his wharf on turn 4, which is the second worst thing that could have happened to him. And I will continue to be confused as to why this decided suddenly to stop working.
Yeah, so anyway, let's see where things are at. Lesputer has 2 wharfs now that he was able to get on turns 4 and 5, so that's quite good. Steph has 2 himself now. Things are even there. They each have an oasis, 1 shantytown for Steph, and a city on the other side. So it's really pretty mirrored right now. One of them has a baron and the other has a swindler, unless somehow... Yeah.
Yeah, the rebuild does have a couple of strong enablers here, although, oh, hey, look, it's the actual thing. I did it! I did it, guys! We can actually see Lesputer's hand. Thank you! Uh, I apologize for that. Um, the other thing that I find is competitive here is Hunting Party Baron is pretty stinking good. It competes pretty well with the rebuild, and the engine, you know, with poor draws can end up doing kind of badly here.
Wandering Winter is a fan of the hands being fixed, uh,
Yes.
as is everyone.
The other interesting thing I think about this board is that it's not crazy to try and stick rebuild in this engine, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them picking up like one singular rebuild or maybe two rebuilds after a couple of oases to try and get some points that way, or maybe press an earlier advantage.
Yeah, without trashing, if you can get the engine going really solid, you can just start dropping your VP and your discard with Oasis and turn those 3 estates into 3 provinces instead of the junk that they are.
Yeah, it's kind of a form of thinning. So let's, for my own benefit, I'm just gonna say out loud what's in everyone's deck. So it looks like they still have 2 Werves each. Lesputer has a Baron. Did he open with that Baron? Or do we remember?
Yes, he did open with Baron, I believe.
Okay. And one of them has an extra shantytown. Okay, so it's relatively close.
Steph drew 2 shantytowns dead a couple of turns ago, which was pretty unfortunate. So he is the one with 2. Lesputer does have a city instead of that second shantytown, though, which in most situations in this deck is probably better. Shantytowns aren't going to draw very often.
There's a mild debate over whether or not rebuild is good to put in the engine. I mean, it may not be the best thing no matter what, and you have to do it. Although it is an extra gain, and having that in the end game can be, you know, better than not having it. But it's the thing I love about this board is that it's not clear. I played this board like 7 times, and it's just not clear what's best. And then once you figure out what you want to do, like, there are lots of enablers that can go with it or can not go with it. Like Hunting Party would probably be really good for these decks, but when do you get it, you know? It's like a difficult decision on every turn that may or may not work out for you. It's the essence of Dominion. So Lesputer looks like he's gonna kick off to a decent turn here. He's gonna get, wow, he could end up with 3 Werves in play. This could be a big deal for him. He chooses to play the Swindler instead. So
yeah, I found the Swindlers were able to do a lot of damage. It might have been just chance in the games that I played, but
yeah, Swindler can certainly have a big impact on this game, and the fact that Lesputer has one and Steph doesn't could end up being pretty big. Although it seems like the impact has been relatively mild so far. Only 1 copper has been cursified.
yeah, I haven't seen much of the Swindler this game. Here, he's starting to draw his deck more.
Ooh, ouch! That's gonna hurt.
That certainly is gonna start seeing the Swindler a lot more often. We see cities come online here, right as Lesputer is able to swindle away Steph's only 1.
They can make a cologne. Essence of Dominion. Sounds like a pretty intense musk. Yeah.
Especially if rebuilds on that board.
Oh yeah. Essence of Rebuild. That's awful. I apologize for that. So I would put Lesputer a little bit ahead here. I think it's kind of close. I believe Lesbuter got 6 wharves to Steph's 4. Did they split him 5 each? We may be able to tell on this turn. So Lesbuter has that Baron as well. He's got a couple more components. Ooh, well, that's that's fortunate, I guess.
Yes, that is fortunate for Steph to have that same card hit again.
So a couple. I mean, there's just 10,000 options for Lesbuter here. He could go for double city. He could get some treasures or some treasuries. Just about anything he could possibly buy, with the exception of purples, I would say is not crazy.
Yeah, it looked like he was considering hunting party a little bit. Treasury's probably not very good. Um,
That's true.
and beggar. Beggars.
Yeah, I guess beggar would also be kind of bad. Yeah, okay. So maybe I should qualify my statement a little more, but still, I mean, there are just so many options that are good for him. I believe he just has the one oasis, it looks like. So city and gold for him. And it does look like Lesbuter did get 6 wharves. So 1 oasis, 6 wharves for Lesbuter. And he's got 3 of them in play. It's going to be tough for Steph to get back into this, and this is not the hand he really wants to be seeing.
Yeah, if he can keep those 3 wharves in play every turn, he's going to be real smooth from here on to the end. Definitely going to make it easy to set up some sort of a forced win.
Yeah, you got to be kind of careful about emptying that second pile, because estates could be a third pile. So Steph doesn't have enough of a lead to combat that. Lesbuter also has that Baron in his deck, which is pretty good for gaining estates. You know, you could play it and gain an estate. It's pretty good.
That is true. Unless you have extra money, though, you can discard an estate for
Whoa.
$2 more than it costs to buy that estate.
Whoa.
It is an extra gain if you need it, though. For
Yeah.
an estate pile out, possibly.
So Lesbuter gets most of the way through his deck, but he only gets 2 wharves in play. He gets 1 single province and picks up a little more draw. It seems good. So a mildly unfortunate draw for him with the city and the wharf stuck on the bottom. I think we can expect him to draw through most of his deck still.
I would think so. With the city and the wharf on the bottom there, that pretty much makes up for the missing wharf draw that he gets from last turn.
Yeah. So if I'm Steph, how do I win? That's what I'm asking myself.
Well, I think if Lesbuter doesn't make any sloppy plays, it may be a little bit lost here, but there's already 2 piles almost out, and estates are not too hard to get, especially when cities come online. So
2 piles out?
almost out.
Almost
city.
out. Yes, you are correct.
So if the cities drop and Steph is able to be down by few enough points, he might be able to sneak a win there. There's also probably some nightmare draw scenarios for Lesbuter, since there's no thinning in this kingdom. He's got probably 13 or 14 stop cards.
So Lesbuter discards that wharf. This is probably a matter of shuffle control for him. He wants to only play 3 wharves this turn and keep balanced. Signals he wants to play a little bit longer of a game. There might have been something to trying to get the wharf played, empty the cities, and then aim for an estate pile out next turn. But that would take a lot of calculation on his part. And here he's got to decide if he wants to play this shantytown. I think he's got province, estate, and wharf in the discard. So he would draw 2 of those, and I don't think that would be so great.
Yeah, last turn, Wandering Winder had suggested a Baron, and that may go a long way to giving him a possibility to pile out without the cities being gone already.
Yeah, and that'll do it. Steph goes ahead and resigns. He was pretty far behind, so it's reasonable to do.
Yeah, as I said before, I think barring any strong misplays from Lesbuter, Steph was pretty well lost, and the double province put him behind by enough that sneaking an estate pile out or something like that is pretty far fetched.
Yeah, Lesbuter played pretty cleanly there, so well played by him. Steph had some unfortunate draws, but Lesbuter able to take advantage of that and come out with a clean win. So good job there. This next kingdom was submitted by Iguana Iguana. Thank you, Iguana Iguana, for submitting this kingdom. We may hear from him a little later on. So this board, I would say is probably the one I had the most fun playing while we were play testing.
Yeah,
The
this board is super fun. It's even more super duper fun when you play it against bots and get all the cards. But
Hey, I had fun playing with you because every time I played a tribute, oh, it was so exciting.
that's true. You had 100% hit rate on nobles.
I mean, there's a big stinking engine here, and Crossroads Nobles is kind of the core of it. You've got Ghost Ship, and you've got Horse Traders as attack and defense. Jester's a really good card. You may be able to throw in an outpost, but I don't know. The interesting thing is that Tribute, I think, is a real rock star here. If your opponent is going for the engine, Tribute can be a really good source of plus action and can really help your deck come alive.
And we see Steph open Forager Horse Traders here, which is pretty much what I saw everyone open playtesting when we were putting this together. And Lesbuter got the 5-2 and went with Crossroads and Ghost Ship.
Yeah, I gotta say that Ghost Ship, it seems more like his style, but man, how do you not open Junk Dealer? I mean, on a bad draw, if oh man, I could never ever bring myself to not get a Junk Dealer on that 5. That just seems really bizarre, but like he does not prioritize trashing as much as well, I do, what I'm used to.
Yeah, I think there's a strong argument there. We see Steph considering foraging a copper to get another 4, I assume, here. Because we'll
Yeah.
see what he goes with.
Estate is
He goes
certainly
with,
not the worst card in the world in your deck.
mm,
I mean, he doesn't have any Crossroads yet, but he's
yes.
getting one now.
He did not want the 4, so you appear to be correct. He's really just looking to keep the estates around for a little while.
They're asking in the chat, is Lesbuter's choice to open Ghost Ship over Junk Dealer a stylistic choice or just a mistake? Uh, I don't know exactly what I mean by style. I don't think anybody does. So don't read too much into that. But the thing is, like, Lesbuter's in the champion match, and I finished last place in the A division this season. So it's really hard for me to criticize when he's clearly thinking of something that I'm not. So.
Well, good players make mistakes sometime too, but I think it may depend on how much damage you're able to do with that Ghost Ship attack. Ghost Ship can be really annoying, especially if you can start playing it really often.
That's true. He was first
some
player.
some may say that getting the Junk Dealer and thinning down will get you to playing that Ghost Ship often faster, and that may be accurate.
Yeah, and also, like, I did end up playing a couple of games where this worked. Ghost Ship just never got bought because it's usually like Jester or Market or other fivers, and once you're thin enough and you've got that Horse Traders, it just seems a little bit lackluster to play Ghost Ship. You can just draw out of it so effectively a lot of the time. Although for an opening, it's certainly a different consideration.
We have seen Lesbuter pick up a second Ghost Ship and Steph grab one. I think the ghost ship attack is pretty strong here. It's not too hard to draw out of it. Having horse traders in your hand kind of completely nullifies the attack, but the crossroads and nobles draw is not the most ideal from a 3 card hand. So
That's true. Uh, so the interesting thing is, I mean, with these ghost ships, the game is taking a little bit of a slower turn. We haven't seen any nobles picked up, and noble split can be pretty significant. It's a good source of draw, and necrobles can be played if you're not going to be able to get tribute to be reliable. But I mean, they're both going for an engine, so tribute's going to be just fine.
yeah, the nobles are important, but I did find that they took a while to get up to 6 on a lot of the times that we played this board.
Hey man, you open horse trader silver, get right up to 6 real fast.
But then you don't have forager.
Yeah, yes, of course. I mean, that would be a terrible opening, but you know what
You
I
get
mean.
right up to 6, and then you need to buy double forager to make up for not opening it.
That's right. It's so good. So they both have a lot of foragers. Lesbuter has 3 of them. That's a lot of foragers.
That is a lot of foragers.
He's playing sort of cleanly here with just in case he doesn't get actions off his tribute. That's why he's playing his foragers first, and it works out for him. Will he get a nobles and a crossroads? Yes, he will.
All right. See this engine start coming together and churning up here. The ghost ships will start having less of an effect on slowing the game down at that
Wow.
point.
So Steph chooses to buy nothing on $3. Not even a second crossroads. That may be best, although perhaps he wants a single silver. I mean, Steph is he doesn't have any draw other than that one ghost ship. Oh, he has a jester?
Yeah, I mean, eventually you may want a decent number of crossroads since you can draw off the nobles, but too many too early is something that I may have done a couple of times when I played this board. Found myself considering trashing them on many occasions.
Nasty draw here for Steph. I mean, he gets to reveal this horse traders, but triple terminal collision without his crossroads. This is really going to hurt him. I mean, it doesn't matter what he top decks at this point because he will draw it and Lesbuter. Wait, he does have a jester. Okay, it does matter.
Yeah, this is an interesting interaction that happens more often than you might think on this board, at least at first glance. Playing that ghost ship and then having it get hit with Jester or Tribute after the fact. So you have to kind of consider what may be coming from your opponent when you're putting cards back with ghost ship.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because usually to make your turn better, you'll want to play the ghost ship first. But as in terms of having a more devastating effect, you'd rather play the jester first because then your opponent doesn't get to choose what your jester hits.
Yes.
So it's interesting if you can draw without that ghost ship and play the ghost ship last. It is something that you want to do, although certainly at this stage in the game, that's not going to be really up to them. Steph continues to have these relatively bad draws, and Lesbuter is now up 2-0 on nobles.
Yeah, things are looking not so good for Steph the last few turns. He's had some just real dead hands going on.
Yeah, given that
that horse traders drew him into that drew him into the crossroads, is that correct?
it looks that way, yeah. So that
Yeah.
or drew him into the ghost ship. I think he had the
yes.
crossroads, but either way.
Yeah. One of the two was missing.
Yeah, this is really good for Steph. He can pick up a nobles, which he desperately needs. Tribute. I think he needs the. He doesn't have any tributes. I would get a Nobles if I were Steph.
And he does. The tribute may have a higher upside if he gets really lucky on the hits, if he's feeling like he's lost and needs a Hail Mary, but I think that it's still too early to say.
Yeah, I do believe Steph has had his horse traders in hand for the last several hands, and that's really fortunate for him. He's getting some mileage out of that.
Does Steph have two horse traders, or is that Lesbuter? Or
That
is
is
one
a
in the trash?
great question.
It could go a long way to explain his frequent,
Yeah,
frequent.
I think we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Although Lesbuter's close to drawing his deck, so we'll be able to see. Lesbuter does have two of them. Yeah.
Okay. Um, well,
Steph
I
did.
believe it was JSH at the beginning of the game who pointed out that Horse Traders is an amazing card because it's blue.
I mean, blue's a good color. Wow, the double reveal. So Steph will go for the tribute now. He might consider a second Crossroads. The funny thing about this is the fact that Crossroads is one of those few cards that can actually get better when you have green in your deck. Like you can actually end up drawing more with green. So like once the nobles are out, or even potentially before, or but you know nobles are just gonna run. It may be time to start greening immediately.
Yeah, I mean, Crossroads decks are generally a lot more resilient to greening than others. Even if you only get to play one, it gets you essentially a cellaring effect.
Sure.
And when you can start playing more than one, that's when it starts going crazy.
So Lesputer has drawn his deck. He did it. Good work. Uh, his deck can make $9. Now with overdraw, he can get more mileage out of his horse traders and increase his economy. And by $9, I of course mean $11. Let's make sure we get that right. It also has no more treasures left, which is really nice for Crossroads decks. And he does go for the outpost already.
Yeah, I was gonna point out on the other turn when Steph hit nobles with Jester that's not really what you want to be seeing. Giving your opponent a purple when they're generally drawing their deck is just not getting you anywhere.
Yeah,
It
you'd
almost
really
can be helpful to them if they can forage that and get money out of it.
true, and you'd really rather be gaining things. I mean, that's the main reason why you want Jester here is as a gainer.
Yeah.
Pick up tributes and what's its and who's he what's its, all kinds
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah, as usual, Jester is usually better when you're gaining good things with it than doling out coppers or
Yeah.
extra potions or something like that.
We all need more potions on this board.
I mean, just think if potion was included on every board, just like curse. It'd be another entire pile of things you could ambassador to your opponent when you're trolling them.
Yes, Ambassador really needs a buff.
It does.
Yeah, so if you're Steph, yeah, that's good top decking action right there. Punt the Crossroads for next hand, and then stick a copper there for Lesputer to hit. And Lesputer will, if he's drawing enough, which he's close to it, he may want to gain the copper for himself. I believe that last card he has there is a Jester, so that's a little unfortunate. But he may want to gain that copper for himself just to increase his payload, have some forager food. But because of this draw, that's not going to work out for him. Also, he discarded nobles. Seems a little odd. He could have gained a thing and potentially drawn it, although he doesn't know what it is. And somehow there's a tribute on top of Steph's deck.
He's played. Lesbuter played several tributes. earlier and
Oh, tribute
flipped a
cycles.
bunch of cards.
That's totally a thing.
Wandering Winder points out that he seeded his next turn with the nobles, so he must have been able to drop it and then draw it up into his straw pile.
Huh. Okay, that's another thing you can do.
And he continues to get endless source of actions from those tributes.
Yeah, I don't know that it's possible for Steph to come back here. This is going to be rough. It's. I wonder if Lesputer could be getting more out of these turns. A couple of his discards seem a little odd to me.
He seems to be considering province, which seems a little strange at this point with the number of points he's up by. I think building more seems safe, which he's settled on here.
I mean, as long as you
Nobles
can
and
buy,
crossroads.
yeah, as long as you can buy nobles, I really don't see any point in getting a province for Lesputer. And the game is close to over, but oh man, he's got such a big lead. Nobles is so much better.
We see Steph hit nobles with gesture again, which is just more unfortunate luck.
That's really not what you want to see. If I'm Steph, I'm thinking, when do I resign? That's what I'm thinking if I'm Steph.
Yeah, this is pretty close to a resignable state, if not already. Mixenox says that it is resignable, which is quite reasonable.
So Lesputer can. I think he's got enough economy for a single province each turn. I don't know. I don't think he can double. I don't think he can count on his tributes hitting treasures or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not a heck of a lot of treasure in Steph's deck. Steph does have 2 tributes in his hand, so if he can have a little bit of luck like you had, then he could get a big turn by hitting 4 nobles.
That's so many nobles.
And Lesputer is going to take the outpost turn. We'll see if he's able to get anything out of it.
He's probably contemplating playing a forager so he can get 2 nobles right now. He may consider trashing that ghost ship. It seems a little redundant at this point. And that $12 price point gives him options to really start threatening piles.
Yeah, he did take the double nobles, and he had seeded his hand with the nobles through discarding 2 with the horse traders there.
And there we go. Yes,
good
very
play.
Good. Yeah, so a little bit of unfortunate luck, I think, on Steph's part. The ghost ship didn't turn out to be all that bad for Lesputer. No one got a junk dealer. Man, I don't know. It's difficult to tell what's right, which is why we like these kingdoms so much.
Oh yeah, I mean, that kingdom, junk dealer is nice, but if you end up with a couple foragers before you hit that price point, all the 5s that compete with it are just, it's a little hard to trash with junk dealer when you have another option.
That's true.
Oh, we've got a problem with one of the, oh, there's a semicolon at the end of the
I separated province
there.
and estates with semicolons.
Ah, I see.
So this next kingdom was submitted by some guy named Deadlock. Have you ever heard of him?
I don't know. It looks like a stupid kingdom, though. He's probably a moron.
Yeah, it's got Navigator in it, so. Yeah. But anyway, thanks for submitting this.
Oh yeah, this is a kingdom that my wife played in one of her e-matches, and I looked over her shoulder and thought, "Oh, this board looks cool. Mountebank is terrible."
Yeah, if I only had 3 words to describe this board, I would use mountebank is terrible as my 3 words. I mean, there are engine components here, but with no thinning, and then this giant, enormous Squire Gardens with fillstone support. I just think, I mean, even with Saboteur, there's just no hope. Um, Neither one of them appears to be opening Squire Potion or Double Squire, so I have no idea what either of them are planning to do. They open Scavenger Silver. I feel like Squire Gardens is just way better. So, we are in uncharted territory. Let's build some engines, man!
I do like Scavenger Squire opening on this sometimes. I tried it a few times, and the Scavengers can really kick your deck with. Oh, and they're
Yeah.
both gonna buy
So,
Mountebank.
so in the engine mirror, mountebank is less terrible. That's the thing. But
Nick
yes,
asks
Scavenger
about
Squire.
emptying provinces with a hunting party deck, and that's definitely possible. But if you go for Squire Gardens uncontested and they're mountebanking you, um, the gardens are worth a lot of points, and adding the fillstone in allows you to buy one or two of those provinces, maybe more.
Yeah, it seems not close to me, which is puzzling because both of them are building an engine. So, you know, uh, that. But I feel like, I mean, the engine's not going to be super fast here.
Yeah,
So,
well, and if you're both playing a hunting party stack and getting hit with mountebank constantly, that hunting party stack is really not going to run very smoothly.
so it's one mountebank each. Uh, Lesbuter went second. He's got 2 hunting parties, and I imagine Steph will just be getting one here. Yeah, a hunting party seems like a pretty important component here. I mean, library is draw, but with no thinning, you really can't get much mileage out of it. You really want to be getting a lot of hunting parties.
Yeah, the more hunting parties you get here, the more often you're going to mountebank your opponent. And with the decks they're building, that's going to be a strong proposition.
So Steph gets his 3rd hunting party. So right now it looks like we're seeing hunting parties with 1 mountebank and 1 scavenger. Ooh, I think the best hunting party enabler is navigator, right? Because then once you're done playing your hunting parties, you play your navigator, you can set up your next hand, right?
Uh, I don't understand.
I'm being sarcastic. It's
I
terrible.
realize that. You can use Navigator to look at the top 5 cards of all the junk cards you
Yeah.
stuck in your discard
Yeah.
and put the rest of them on top of it.
Yeah, and then you can cause a really bad shuffle and then lose like 2 turns because there's no thinning. It's super good.
You could lose an additional turn if you put the cards that Navigator reveals back on top.
That's right. Then you can learn, yeah, you can lose another turn of pace, which is super good.
Definitely.
Steph top decks a mountebank over a hunting party.
Mick asked if the kingdoms this season were randoms or designed. I can say for sure that this one was random because it was just a board that I saw. But
Well, they're randoms.
I'm not 100% sure about all of the others. Yeah, it was a match in the E League that my wife was playing. She also played a Procession Fortress Apprentice Border Village
Oh yeah,
rebuild
I remember
something or
play
other.
testing that one.
Um, that was considered.
Steph's having a big think about his $4 buy here.
Yes, my wife does play for my main account. She has gotten all of the rating that I've managed to accumulate. Anytime I play games, I just trash it and then have to have her build it back up again. It's embarrassing.
Life is hard.
Yeah, it's much like how Lexi controls Adam's account.
Yeah, she's right here. She has her brown turtle shell toy, and she's getting her ears scratched. Once again, life is hard. Okay, so now Steph could potentially do a Squire Scavenger hunting party to draw trick here. I'm not quite sure what is that one super awesome card he would want to draw, though, so what he might do is just stick a hunting party on top for tomorrow.
Yeah, that seems like a good plan. Um, he did find a curse with his hunting party, which was
Ooh, super
pretty
good.
much the expectation, since he had everything else in his hand.
So it looks like Steph is trying to track the hunting party split. I mean, this would be his fifth.
Yeah, I mean he can see all four of his from his discard and his play area that he was just looking at, but so he has taken the hunting party and they have a 5-5 split.
Yeah, when mirrored, this engine loses a lot of steam, obviously, because hunting parties are contested and you have to race for them. So where they're going here is going to be well, probably right for green into something like a slog. Maybe you incorporate gardens. I don't think that this particular game, since hunting parties are contested, is going to speak, too strongly one way or the other of engine versus other things that you can do here.
Yeah, I mean it would have been interesting to see these two play the Gardens Rush against the Mountebank engine, but um, as always, it's always more interesting to see two different strategies going on, but unless one of them is terrible, I suppose. um, the Gardens are almost certainly going to be worth 3 points for both of them really soon. I think Steph had 25 cards and got a curse and a copper from Les Bouter just a little bit ago, so he's almost going to hit 30 already.
Yeah. So Steph picks up that festival. It seems the main difference in their decks right now is that Steph has that extra squire, and also Les Bouter has an extra purple right now. So here's something to chew on. What do you think about incorporating Fillstone into these decks at this point?
Um, Certainly less effective than in a regular slog deck since you're going to be drawing some cards up with Hunting Party, but it's probably worth at least $3 and will continue to increase. Well, I guess if you got 30 cards, it's going to be worth at least $4.
Yeah, my only reservation is that it adds two uniques, a potion and the Fillstone, and you don't get much mileage out of the subsequent Fillstones.
Yeah, that is true. I think it's, as always, it's a little bit of a stretch to go far enough to pick up potions. If you get the right turn with the right amount of money and an extra buy, maybe you pick up the potion and you can expect to hit province pretty much any time you get that Peace Stone. But the fill stones really work much better in a sloggy deck. JSH had mentioned earlier, but picking up scavengers, a couple of fillstones and a couple of scavengers in your deck lets you play those fillstones pretty often, even when you have a big slog deck.
That's true. So Les Vitaire grabs a gold. If Steph can province here, it'll be a pretty strong move, although he can't. Does he go for a gold? I mean, at this point, you kind of have to start thinking about piles as well. He may choose to go for green. Curses are going to be gone shortly, so it doesn't seem crazy to go for like gardens and squire here or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think digging into the gardens a little bit is not far fetched. There's going to be two piles out. If a pile runs, then if a victory point pile runs, gardens or estates or anything like that, the game's going to end. And those gardens are probably likely to hit at least 4 points. So
Yeah, gardens are definitely really good. The chat seems to be pretty unanimous in that it's time to go for the gardens. I think it's close. Clearly, Steph thinks it's close. He's thinking about it for a minute here. I think Steph is in a really good position. Lesbuter getting that gold when he had effectively the same decision that Steph does now. Those are all things.
Steph has come to the same conclusion as everyone else here with Garden Squire by.
Everyone except for Lesbuter.
Everyone except Lesbuter.
Oh, so now do you take the squire for buys? Is it already time for that, or do you use the scavenger? Man, that's tough.
Yes, it looks like the gardens are still worth 3 at this point. But yeah, if you can pick a good card up with the scavenger, I think that's probably worth the buys at this point. We're still a few turns out from being able to pile the game out.
Yeah, so Seth doesn't discard. There is a lot of bad stuff in his discard, so we'll have to top deck this silver, which is pretty good. And I imagine he just gets a gardens here. That would be consistent.
Yes. Yes, he does. Yeah, I guess it also depends on where your deck's at. He's still got 3-point gardens right now, but he's got to be really close to that 4-point break point. So,
ooh, this is potentially a very big turn for Steph coming up. Wow, double gardens with lots of buys. This is enormous. This might put the game away. So Lesbuter chooses 2 turns to build, before he shuffled. So he's waiting a shuffle to green, and that may turn out to really bite him. Steph is doing some great stuff here. Steph, did his gardens didn't level up, but they're going to be close.
Yeah, he did choose to take a silver over the 2 buys, so a silver over 2 coppers.
Yeah, with that lead, I think that's pretty good.
And yeah, he chose to not discard the curse there.
Oh man. Lesbuter cannot be happy to see this. I mean, he gets a province, but man, he's so far behind. It's just not looking good for him.
Mm-hmm. And Steph is going to gain 4 points here from a gardens bump.
Oh, snap.
Any moment. Unless I missed it just a little bit ago. But
he has the next card he gains is going to be his 40th. You can see his draw pile plus hand and play area. So he's going to get there. He's going to top deck, I would guess, either Festival or Hunting Party. And he goes for the Festival, it seems. Yeah. Well, Lesbuter has a pretty good hand here. I mean, I don't think he can come back, but he's going to make it close.
Steph does start taking buys here.
Yeah, I mean, 4 buys, that's halfway to your next threshold. Granted, I mean, the game's going to be over. You may not need it, but it's good play. I like it, and this will probably do it.
Yeah. In any count where it ends up mattering at all, it is got to be better to pick up those coppers. Even if you don't hit the break point, if you shuffle through, those coppers are going to be good cards at that point.
Yes. All right, so that will be Steph's win here. Looks like we're 2-1. If we continue this way, Lesbuter will be the champion. Although It's pretty close, and it looks like it's probably going to come down to the wire. So pretty exciting here. This next kingdom was submitted by Assemble Me. Thank you, Assemble Me, for submitting this kingdom. This board, I seriously misjudged it. I looked at this and I thought, oh boy, Shantytown's the only village, and you super need it. Ugh. And then I was like, oh wait, library's a really good card. So
Yeah, this board is really interesting because that Shantytown is a necropolitive village, pretty much guaranteed. But the draw from library and even hunting grounds are both really solid. So
mad props to you for necropolitive village. Oh, so many hearts, so many ASCII hearts. so, so what do you do here, man? I mean, upgrade is super good. You want to hit 5, but Shantytowns, man, that split is so important because you know, if you can use library for your draw, you can just do incredibly broken things here, and you'd really rather be doing that and it just makes Shantytown shine. But you need a lot of Shantytowns to make that work.
hmm yeah, I played this multiple times, and I played it once with Shantytown Library, being able to discard cards with horse traders and then draw back up, and that worked really well. And I'm honestly not convinced that the drawing with hunting grounds isn't also a viable option because
Oh yeah.
I've done that before, and that allows you to get big hands and use money as your payload.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I think Hunting Grounds provides an option for someone who really does not win the Shantytown split to go for a deck that's somewhat viable. We see in the opening here, Steph opens with the Shantytown and Lespeter opens with Develop. There are merits to both of them. The Develop is an early way to start thinning and gaining those Shantytowns, even though Upgrade is typically a better card to have in your deck at this point in the game.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, hitting upgrade will let you turn the estates into shanty towns, and maybe even if you don't, or develop does too, even if you don't win that, don't start out fast on the shanty towns, you might be able to catch up.
Yeah, so Steph has a mildly unfortunate draw. He overpays for his upgrade, but it's going to be okay for him. Lespeter has a wonderful draw here. He can top deck a Shantytown for cycling and go ahead and get a 5-er. I imagine he still wants the upgrade, and that's what he gets. So it seems that at this point, the main priority that both of them are going to focus on is just Shantytown, 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 Shantytown. I don't know that building any more for either of them is going to be all that productive.
Yeah, I mean that split is just going to be important. So
If nothing else, then for denial even. Like here with 4 and a quarry in play, we may see Steph picking up a Shantytown, although there you may be able to do better. Like a hunting grounds or a library could be okay.
at some point you do have to build up your draw and start putting something together. So
Steph got a trade route.
interesting.
I cannot imagine that being better than develop at this point in the game for his deck. I am really puzzled, and I wow. Why do you want trade route over develop?
Well, trade route and horse traders are the only buy here, so I can only imagine that his plan there is something along those lines. And he is going with the hunting grounds route for draw. So
Okay, so maybe he wanted the plus buy, I guess.
yeah, I mean it seems like horse traders is going to be more consistent than trade route if you can get your trashing done with upgrade, but thinning is winning, as someone I know sometimes says.
Sounds like an idiot. Anyone who would say that. Ugh. So Steph is really clearly signaling he does not want to go for a library deck. He's got 2 Shantytowns in his deck, and it's very clear he feels that is enough. So it gives Lespeter a little bit of clearance to slow down on these Shantytowns and potentially start aiming to maximize his growth instead of really aggressively pursue that split. I'm inclined to say that strategically that gives Lespeter an advantage, but I don't know. I mean, Steph is doing okay.
Yeah, they both are not really piling on the shanty towns too hard, so they're you can build this deck with I mean, Steph has his deck in his hand right now, so um, you can certainly draw it with less, and I think that eventually your terminal space is something that you can do things with, but
The chat's pretty vocal about liking hunting grounds, and I agree. Early on, before you're thin, it's clearly better. Although that doesn't mean you want to use it as your only source of draw. You know, you may be able to throw a library in there
mhm.
and start going for a deck that uses that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to what some of them are saying there. The library draw is definitely a little bit more finicky. You got to pay attention to exactly what you need at the moment. As I said, there's a deck here you can play with Shantytown. You can discard extra cards with Horse Traders and then draw back up with Library and run through your entire deck that way. But it's definitely trickier to play, and it may not be worth the finickiness if you can draw everything out with just a few hunting grounds.
Hmm. It's an interesting decision point for Steph. Maximizing payload at this point is good for him, but you know his deck requires still a good draw in order to kick off. Uh, it's a tough situation, and you have to take into account mid-turn gains as well. I believe Steph does not have any develops. It's just that upgrade he can use.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much his deck that we're seeing here. He upgraded his estate into the shantytown, but I think he'd drawn everything before that point.
That's true.
I think he was considering maybe hunting grounds horse traders, which I think
That's
with the added shantytown could be a good idea. Oh,
That's reasonable.
Winder says we missed him buying a develop just now.
Oh, it's the GoCo discard that's lying to us. He gained the develop, but it shows the shantytown on top of the discard. Hashtag
Yes.
thanks GoCo.
It's really a quality piece of software.
Oh, totally.
Yes, obviously. I accidentally said that he purchased it when it was the upgrade. I was still being tricked.
We can totally blame GoCo for this. There's no need to take any blame for this, bro. I will back you up all the way. This is a terrible draw for Lespeter. Yep. Super bad.
He's gonna develop a develop.
Oh man, and that just
He's got a
does
gain
not
in a
feel,
state.
does not feel good to top deck in a state. Oh man.
JSH says not to worry, we won't notice the discard pile bug when we switch to the new version. I assume that's not because it's fixed, but because there are too many other things to notice instead.
I honestly don't. I don't know. Let's open up the new Dominion and find out. No, let's not.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah. Well, you know. So I think Steph just plays the upgrade here. I'm trying to imagine what he's thinking about before playing the upgrade. You're not going to draw off that shantytown, so gain and play this turn doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I think you want to play upgrade, so...
Yeah, I mean it would be possible to develop something and then play play the shantytown, develop something, and then draw it with upgrade and trash a copper.
He
That
would
could
have
be
to develop the trade
option.
route in order for that to work.
Yeah.
Or wait, you're saying since develop top decks, he's looking for shenanigans to do.
Yeah.
He would, I mean, to make any use of that on this turn, he would have to develop the trade route. Which is the thing he could do. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he seems to have a couple of more gains now, so that plus buy isn't so desperately needed. although it certainly makes his quarry a lot better. There's also that hunting grounds.
Yeah, he could also develop the quarry. As Wandering Winder has pointed out. Thought about that. And I guess it depends on how many actions he wants at this point and how much money he expects to have with it. Right now, his economy is pretty low.
Yeah, it's pretty low, although he can gain it and draw it in the same turn without too much difficulty. Develop, upgrade into golden horse traders is pretty big.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the definitely some big payload opportunity from develop mid-turn, and he picked up 2 shantytowns that last turn, which fixes the terminal space that he was having trouble with last turn.
Yeah, it also puts a little bit of pressure on Lesputer because I believe the shantytown split right now is 5-3. Steph has 5. So Lesputer is going to have to, get those shanty towns. Which, granted, it doesn't look like he has much else better to do on this turn than do that, so it's kind of okay. Well, he does get the library over the last one. Wow, that's a lot of shanty towns.
You mean necroplative villages.
That.
Yeah, so here he, depending on what he wants to develop, he may be able to draw with the last shantytown, unless he picks up something different with develop.
Yeah, this is a pretty terrible draw for Steph. I believe there are 2 hunting grounds in those last 5 cards in his deck. So this is not what he wants to see. If I was him, I would strongly consider just playing the upgrade in hopes of drawing the hunting grounds, but then it takes away a lot of payload options. He might just play some shanties, develop upgrade into thingy and other thingy, and then go for that.
Yeah, you could even consider playing a shantytown and upgrading that upgrade into a hunting grounds to guarantee you draw through. We see the quarry here. So that could be developed into a library and put on top and drawn with Shantytown.
Yeah, there are a lot of options with that quarry. I think it might be time to ditch it. Although I think you would rather develop it than upgrade it. Getting that 3 cost is probably good.
Yeah, I think I actually was meaning to say develop it into, because if you develop into a library and whatever else, the other shantytown, I don't know, maybe a silver if you have no payload.
Yeah, Steph's payload is pretty lacking. He was kind of counting on develop and upgraded provided this turn. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
But you can put that library on top, and then you know that even though your shantytown's only going to draw 2 cards, that you'll be able to pick up the rest of your deck from there. Now, the rest of his deck is just 2 hunting grounds and trade route, maybe a copper? I'm not sure.
What is that last card? It might be another shantytown.
I think he has all 5 of his shantytowns.
Yeah, it was a shantytown.
He developed his quarry into those 2.
Yeah. Oh. Good call, man.
Here we get to see trade route and copper.
Ah,
copper.
I would have rather been correct.
And we did see. Oh, the upgrade was he upgraded a shantytown into the horse traders. I missed that play.
So $5. The delicious payload of Steph's deck. Upgrade seems pretty reasonable. That can just be a gold next turn pretty easily.
And I don't see any other pile options, but he does have, if he can overdraw, options to blow up hunting grounds into the entire pile of estates. So
yeah, so I think it's
play out.
if you're Lesputer, I think it's pretty safe to just assume the estates are empty and in Steph's deck at a moment's notice.
Yeah, especially with what we saw last turn. I believe he discarded 2 hunting grounds to horse traders, showing that he didn't need them at all for draw.
Yeah. Okay, so Lesputer has drawn his deck. It looks a lot like Steph's deck, only with 2 less hunting grounds and a decent chunk more copper and less shantytown. So it looks like Steph is ahead on all accounts here.
Yeah, it does look that way. Did Steph trash either of those coppers last turn, or does he still have 2?
I think he's got 1 copper left.
Okay.
So, if I'm Lesputer and I'm realizing I'm behind like this, what do I want to do about it? Well, he goes for library and upgrade. So he wants to draw with library. That's going to be good in the short term for him, help him build up, I suppose. But then like your payload options are pretty limited. He only has, I think, 3 shantytowns, and Steph has 6. There's 1 in the trash.
Yes, Steph did trash a shantytown last turn, so he has 5 to 4? Or is it?
I think it's 6 to 3.
Okay. I guess we'll see if Steph draws his deck here, where he's at. I remember, I think you said that Lesputer could pick up the last 2 shantytowns to even the split, and he picked 1 of them up, so I think he has 4.
Oh. I must have misspoke because I think there was a shanty in the trash by that point, but that wouldn't be the first time I've just said the wrong thing.
Wandering Winder would like to know how close Steph is to a pile out. I think that we're going to have to see another pile get low before he can do that. The estates are really easy to get, but I mean, something crazy with develop might be able to chain into some pile cards, but
Man, that sounds
pretty far-fetched.
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to like develop the hunting grounds to upgrade and upgrade for some more gains, but then like they all have to be on the same pile, so he would need like $4 targets, and he only has the horse traders.
He is developing the hunting grounds into an upgrade, looks like, and we assume
and then that duchy, yeah.
Gain. Oh yeah, he did already gain the duchy.
So that upgrade is top decked. I mean, I imagine that's what he wanted. He wanted to treat that develop like a stonemason, right? Just a 6 into 2 5s, which is what he did.
Yeah, I was thinking upgrading the upgrade into a gold was relatively likely here, and he was able to gain another one in order to.
So it's shanty, then horse traders, I imagine, then upgrade, so you can draw one of those cards back, I think. Although you do cause a somewhat nasty shuffle that way. Maybe he doesn't want to go that route.
Yeah, he may just be looking to play trade route, and then yeah, looks like he's gonna discard the upgrade and the duchy. And now the trade route is worth $3, so that's.
Oh, I see. Steph's master plan. The turn 6 or something trade route. Finally doing some work for him. Who's gonna come out on top? Probably Steph, but stay tuned.
Yeah, things are looking pretty good for Steph's deck here. He can upgrade that duchy into a gold if he wants more payload as well.
Everything's coming up Steph. Whatever that means.
Here's a really big library for Lesputer. That was really well set up.
Yeah, that library is going to continue to do some good things for him until he adds payload to his deck. That's going to be a little uncomfortable, but for now, Lesbuter has some pretty tight control over his deck, and he can inject some payload pretty effectively at this moment. He might be thinking about upgrading library into gold and drawing everything, or something else. He can upgrade. He doesn't need to upgrade the library. He could upgrade quarry into something and draw that potentially, just with the library.
Yeah, I think upgrading the quarry at this point could be a good choice. We'll see what he is looking for here. He's going to get the gold. He is not able to draw that due to the develop being his last card.
Sad day. Although he can seed his next turn with a 3 and a 5 if he wants to develop the quarry. That actually doesn't seem very good at all, so never mind.
If there was a shantytown left. But he is going to do that with a library and silver. Probably has a okay chance of drawing a shanty here, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and Lesbuter's really going to start to feel the pressure of not having enough terminals, and I believe we just saw him click the resign button, so yes. Yeah, things were looking pretty bad for him.
Yeah, especially with that draw that he just pulled up. That was not what you wanted to see.
That was a rotten draw. So it looks like Lesbuter needs to win these last 2 games in order to become the league champion. So it's going to come down to these last 2. I'd like to take this opportunity in between games for a shameless plug for Forum Survivor Season 3. We need 1 more person to join, and then we can start. And Forum Survivor is super awesome, so you should all join. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Great. Now that we're done with that, I apologize. This next board was submitted by Iguana. They have both started 2 games, yes. Thank you, Iguana, for submitting this board. This is the second kingdom that we've had that was submitted by him. So a lot of really good stuff from him this season. This board, look at it. This is probably my second favorite out of all the ones we did.
Yeah, this board may have been my favorite. I think that it's really cool. It's not a super engine, but you can draw your deck if you build it. Well, if you get the right draws to build it. And there's just a lot of interactions. It's one of those boards where I feel like I just don't know what I should do on any given turn. So that just, I feel like there's a lot of options available.
Yeah, it's I mean, what you really want to be doing is drawing a lot of cards to increase your payload. But the only draw is either Beggar with Spice Merchant, which is, as I like to say, awful. But still possible. Or you can like Ironmonger and have some green in your deck, like Harems and stuff, as part of your payload, which is not crazy. But then you really want like all of the Ironmongers. So like on a 5/2, I think a mine opening is pretty clear. It's not the best, but it's certainly not terrible. Mine will find use throughout this game for gaining Harems and good stuff. And even on a certain draws like this Lesbuter. This draw Lesbuter has, like, getting a mine here is not terrible at all. In fact, I think he should get it. I think that's probably the best card for his deck right now, although Ironmonger's not crazy.
Yeah, the Harems are quite interesting in this deck, especially with the Ironmongers and using the mine to help the Spice Merchant get rid of the coppers in order to hit Grand Market. There's a lot of stuff going on here.
Mixenox says, whoever submitted this kingdom is sexist. JSH, mining for harems, tee-hee. You guys are ridiculous. So, Steph has now reached a crossroads, although crossroads is in the other kingdom. Heh, Dominion pun. He could border village and something cheaper. Mine, Ironmonger, second Spice Merchant, not even crazy. Gold to help spearhead the grand markets, or even harem at this point. already not totally crazy. Farmland would be I want a 4 and I would rather have a farmland than an estate in my deck. Taking that over a border village though, I don't know at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if you want the 4, I think it's definitely the right choice because the farmland is pseudo silver, you might call it, for buying provinces, and
Um,
the estate is just really not doing anything for you.
I'm trying to think of how farmland into Ironmonger is better than border village into Ironmonger.
Well, I mean,
Hmm.
the the chat here says that you don't want to be hitting actions with your Ironmonger, which I think is a pretty apt point. So loading up on extra actions makes your Ironmongers less effective.
Yeah, but having the
And
border village in your hand is way better than having the farmland in your hand. Well, I guess you still have the same number of stop cards. Okay, yeah, it's about victory card density. Sure. It's the same number of green cards in your deck, only one less village. So you're just not wanting to have the border village. Eh,
yeah, I mean, there's really not really any terminals you want to play here, so
sure.
having villages is not really the most important thing.
Okay, yes. Great. I have seen the light. Thank you. Let's just say I was playing the part of the viewer watching who didn't quite understand that particular intricacy, and I totally knew about it before that discussion started. Yes. Also, farmland is points, so it's also a
Yes,
thing.
so you've upgraded your state by 1 point. You've also made it potential to aid in buying provinces through other farmlands, and
Oh yeah.
um, um, yeah, the chat's mentioned that it's strange they're not really going for Grand Market. I'm not sure if they're totally not trying to get there, or if they just haven't managed to get there yet.
It's a different style of deck building than the one I had done while playtesting because they're not going for mine. It seems like they just want to have $6 worth of economy in their deck and then like get thin and gets lots of ironmongers and then go for Grand Market. I mean, maybe that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that works okay. I think that, yeah, and Wandering Winders just questioned, not sure how they go for Grand Market more than they have. It doesn't really feel like they've had opportunities for Grand Market. They probably could have built differently to get to Grand Market more quickly. That was another interaction I was going to mention at the start is sometimes you have a Spice Merchant left in your deck that you don't want anymore if you're not going for bigger Spice Merchant draw because it's crazy. Um, and you can farmland that Spice Merchant into a Grand Market. It allows you to buy a Grand Market. You don't really get rid of a stop card. You turn it into farmland, but there's there's all kinds of different ways that you can get into some of these cards.
Yeah, there are multiple lines of play that can get you to where you are, and I have to. Man, I really think that mine has a place in the deck. So the fact that they're both ignoring it seems pretty suspect to me.
Yeah, it definitely felt useful in the games that I played with it. Um, Unfortunately, it looks like Goko has decided that Steph shouldn't be playing Dominion anymore. So we may have to start this board over.
Is it Steph's that has frozen? What's
I
going
saw
on
your
here?
opponent has connection problems popping up on Les Bouter's
Okay,
screen, so
all right.
it's hard to tell based on the board state who is actually.
Yeah, it's pretty even at this point.
I think Steph just played a Spice Merchant, and it's stuck. Or no, it says Les Bouter played a Spice Merchant. So I'm not sure which one. Oh,
Oh
wait,
yes,
we're back!
yes. All right, we are back in business. All right. So Lespeter picks up an Ironmonger. I want to say that.
Yeah, so
Uh,
he.
it looks like these problems are on Goko's end. We're not seeing much from Steph's end. Hmm.
Yeah, Goko at least indicated that it was on Steph's end, but that's it's probably just Goko. But we look to be doing okay now. And on that last turn, Lespeter trashed a copper and took coins and used the silver to buy an ironmonger.
So Steph probably, since he can't get a Grand Market, he probably just farmlands into that last Ironmonger. Since we decided that was better than Border Village into it. Someone has a Border Village, I don't know. I
He
don't
did
remember.
choose to go with Harem there. I did not see the border village gain, so.
It was Lespeter. Okay. So Lespeter, I think, could potentially win the Ironmonger split 6-4 on this turn. If he gets it, I want to pay attention and try and track that.
Looks like
Oh,
he
snap.
could use Spice Merchant to pick up a Grand Market here. Um, he will also have. Uh, can't count at the moment, but $10 if he plays his copper, so he would be able to pick up the Ironmonger and a 6.
So I think Grand Market here's a pretty easy call to make, and I think you want the silver with it, yeah? I think you might want the silver. I mean, well, there's no mine in his deck. That would make the silver really easy.
Yeah, the silvers are much better when you have mine. You can turn them into harems, and they start making your ironmongers super amazing. Um, but I think Lesbuter was checking his count of ironmongers, perhaps. Didn't quite catch what he was looking at. But
Maybe he was going to prioritize the split. He could have done something like Harem Ironmonger if he wanted to.
yeah, I don't think that would have been crazy.
Yeah, without the mine in your deck, I think it's pretty easy that you don't want the silver at this very moment.
Yeah.
Although it is close, a couple turns from now, you may decide that it's better than not having it. So it depends on a lot. Uh,
Yeah, you do have to rely on a bit of luck to draw your deck with ironmongers if you go with the victory card kind of thing. But with a lot of harems, you can have a pretty good density of victory cards in your deck.
yeah, so it becomes a non-trivial decision, like what you keep and what you discard when you reveal it with Ironmonger. Steph doesn't have any Grand Markets, and he can't pick one up this turn, so that's gonna put him kind of behind. Uh,
Yeah, it seems like Lesbuter is definitely thinner. He has trashed 5 of his coppers. Looks like he was checking that out a little while ago, and Steph had 3 in his hand just then, so not sure if he has any more than that or.
oh yeah, look at that. Lespeter is having some great Ironmonger reveals. Things are going pretty well for him here. He does put the silver back on top with the Grand Market in hand. I think that's okay. Silver gives him the potential for double Grand Market this turn if his draw continues the way it has.
He did choose to put back the harem as well as he was drawing through his deck. That's a place where you can reveal a harem with Ironmonger and choose whether you want to pick up the $2 or just a different card.
Yeah, I mean, the reason you would discard it is because you want to find your Grand Markets. But other than Grand Market, the best card in his deck is Harem. So I think at this point, especially with the Grand Market in hand, he's happy to draw that.
Yeah, I found myself keeping the harems more often than not for sure.
Well, especially this early on. All right, well, Steph's making some stuff happen. The Spice Merchant is a really good draw for him. I think he's got to take it for the money so he doesn't trigger a bad shuffle, but he's able to pick up his first Grand Market here.
Hmm.
So with a dud from Lesbuter and a good hand from Steph, he could easily get back in it. It's definitely not over yet.
Vesputer is keeping a copper to hit with his Spice Merchant.
Yeah, if you let your opponent get too many grand markets, then estate pile out becomes something that you might be able to threaten.
Hmm.
Uh, Goko? Oh, okay, there we go.
Goko is still trolling us a little bit.
We all have to do what we're best at.
Goko, always the best troll.
So, 11. I think it's not too late for Grand Market at a mine for Lesbuter here. I think a mine is quite good for him still. We may see him
Yeah, I
pick it up.
mean, I think that's not unreasonable. Turning your silvers into harems is plus 2 points and plus a improved target for Ironmonger.
Yeah, it's super good for him.
Looks
I
like he's considering a spice merchant or nothing.
He does get the mine. Now that the distraction Ironmonger pile is gone, they can truly see the light. I'm being sarcastic, although there's maybe a little bit of truth to that. Steph having moderate luck with his Ironmongers, but hey, this is turning up for him. It looks like this is going to be good enough.
Yep. And how many cards did he discard there? Looks like two. So he's going to top deck a farmland if he draws here. So he chooses not to.
They're saying in the chat that it's too late for a mine for Lesbuter. I certainly think it's better than anything else he could get on 5. I mean, it's certainly better than nothing, yeah? Unless I'm
Yeah, I mean,
missing
I think
something.
nothing is the only other consideration. It just depends on whether it clogs you up. But I mean, turning silvers into harem is pretty much free points and an improvement to your deck. So, uh, barring anything else, and yes, they are questioning whether it's better than nothing. So, I think there's definitely something to that, but
Uh,
it looks like they each have
yeah,
two
each of them has
silvers.
2 silvers. So Steph can have 10. He gets the second Spice Merchant. He probably just wants to thin the silvers, it looks like. Uh, Maybe slightly better than nothing.
Yeah, and it's also a farmland target, as pointed out by Wandering Winder. Which isn't a bad idea if you can grab a grand market with it that you wouldn't otherwise be able to pick up, or I guess they're pretty much out of coppers now, so that consideration isn't really gonna matter.
Alright, looks like Lesbuter is going to get through his deck here.
In one of the games that we played, I was able to farmland a spice merchant into a grand market in order to pick up points and enable a pile out. So that's something that may come into play as the grand market pile gets lower.
Yeah, and it looks like Lesbuter's deck has really come together here. Um, he declines to get a copper. I think getting a copper there is not crazy as Spice Merchant food, because now the Spice Merchant is a stop card, although he could just maybe look to farmland it this turn. So that looks like the path he's going to take here. But with a double grand market, and I don't really think Steph's deck can do that.
Yeah, I think Steph is still a little way away from being able to hit double grand market, just based on what it felt like he did last turn. But
Yeah.
and as Mick just pointed out, it looks like we may well make it to the final game,
Yeah.
which is exciting. It's always nice when the players cooperate in that manner.
I can't remember the last time we had a league champion match go to the final game. I don't know if it's ever happened actually.
Well, we may have a first here.
Yeah, it looks like Lesputer, if he can hold on to his advantage, will be able to do that. Will be able to force it there. So this is pretty
Oh,
exciting.
and Steph did hit 12, so he had just gotten enough together to
Yeah.
pick up 2 grand
Yeah,
markets.
it's not over. Although I think Lesputer, he has 5 grand markets at this point, so he could win the split 6-4, and then, well, I guess he would probably have to get a province at that point. He would
Yeah,
also
you're
get
gonna
a
have to
harem.
start looking out for piles. The estate pile, as you mentioned earlier, is not terribly hard to get if you have a lot of grand markets. Although, if Steph only has 4, that puts him at 5 buys plus 1 from Spice Merchant, which isn't going to be enough to drain the whole pile.
Yeah, so that 6th grand market, assuming Lesputer keeps that spice merchant around, could threaten all of the estates being piled, and that threat would go into effect on the next turn, assuming he doesn't ditch the spice merchant in his buy. So that's something that's going to be going through his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, where did his mind go? Did Lesputer discard his mind? That's very.
He
Yeah, he
did discard
discarded
the mine.
it. Oh, a part of me
He
is very sad about this.
he also discarded his silver, so or one of his silvers, so he didn't have anything that he could mine. You can wipe out the um, you can wipe out the harem pile by mining harems into harems if you need to.
That's true. So it looks like Lesputer could have bought the Grand Market outright, but he chose to transform his spice merchant into a farmland. So he's shutting the door on his chances to threaten a state pile out this turn, in exchange for effectively having a better economy and a couple more points for the time being.
Yeah, he's got it improves his economy. It gives him the 2 farmland points, and it mildly improves his Ironmonger's chance to hit victory cards. So
Yeah, just to clarify, discarding the mine was probably the right move, but that doesn't change the fact that it makes me sad. Just so we're clear.
I think that the chat may well have been right about it being a little late for the mine. I think that the mine really shines early when it's able to turn your deck into turn silvers into harems or coppers into silvers if it helps you hit grand market. So
Sure, I think I agree.
and Wandering Winder says Steph can't quite win
Yeah,
here.
what do you do in Steph's position? I guess you think briefly about like trying to pile farmlands or harems for a win, but I mean that seems pretty far out of reach. Maybe
Yeah.
he can go for province and then farmlands, spice merchant into farmland. That gives Lesputer a couple of easy win options, but being behind that may be the path you have to take, hoping that Lesputer duds.
Yeah, I mean, with the points he picked up last turn, you've got to pick up some turns and or got to pick up some points here, and he's gonna do. Looks like Border Village Duchy is what he's considering here. I was gonna point that out myself, whether picking up a Border Village Duchy is a good play with the Border Village being a target turn into province later.
Also, gaining 3 farmlands is not terribly difficult for Lesputer to do. It only takes $12 and not playing one of your ironmongers.
Yeah.
So that seems pretty reasonable. And it's also another point, which that's a big stinking deal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And picking up a harem is also a decent option.
Yeah, actually, I think I might like Harem more than Border Village and Duchy. Winning on like a sneak 3 pile ending doesn't seem that great for Steph. I'm assuming he's getting a province with his other buy, so like he probably wants to just take a lead and hope that Lesputer stalls on points and he can win that way.
Yeah, I mean the 1 point that the duchy gives you over harem is probably not a factor, at least not yet on this turn. And The only question would be whether having that border village to turn into a province is gonna have an effect.
Okay, so he goes with the harem, and he does buy that other province. So let's see. This could be the dud that Steph is looking for. Lesbuter has a good amount of crap in his hand.
That estate hit is going to
Ooh,
help
that's
him
big.
continue the turn.
Oh, snap. That's also big.
Ooh, except that farmland that he picked up off of the discarded harem is unfortunate.
Hey, I mean, that could be just as well. I mean, if he's going to get a province with that, it really is effectively the same thing.
Oh, true. The pseudo-silver when buying provinces.
Although, I mean, I think he would rather use the border village. Ooh, hey, look at this.
Yeah, and here we'll see him able to pick up the
Can he
harem
win?
with silver.
Can he win? He's very close. Mine silver into harem. He's $2 short. Wait, no, he has it. That's enough. He can mine silver into harem and buy the last 3 harems and win. Let's see if he finds it.
Looks like he's
Yeah.
drawing some more. That makes it even easier. He can pick up an estate with it as well.
Ooh, power estate. Yeah, so this looks like GG.
Yep, and there's his cursor on the harems. He sees it, and
Nice.
This is going to end the game. So our exciting final match, potentially for the first time, is coming up.
Oh, snap. Oh, yes. Oh, this is so exciting. So Lesbuter needs to win this game. A tie will give the championship to Steph.
Yeah, Wandering Winder points out the harems going down was bad. We didn't really consider that when we were looking at the end of Steph's turn.
Yeah, we thought piles would be an issue for farmland, but not for harem apparently. Even though Lesbuter had that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, that mine was what allowed him to pick up the 4th harem, because we knew that he could pick up 3 of the $6 cards, but 4 would have been out of reach without the mine.
That's true. So yeah, perhaps farmland there was better. Although, I mean, really, if Lesbuter doesn't dud there, Steph has probably lost anyway. So it's probably still the right play.
Could have picked up 2 provinces. That would have been safe. Yes.
Yeah. Plus more goodies.
Mm-hmm.
So they're taking a brief break, probably to collect themselves before the last match. So we'll have a short intermission here. And oh man, this last game, we saved the good one for last, let me tell you.
This is a interesting final match that we're gonna have. I was really hoping that we'd get to it before or when the game still mattered, so we got exactly what we're looking for.
This is one of those that if we were going to include it, it was going to be last. Alright, here we go. It all comes down to this. The last game of the champion match. Lesbuter could take it down with a win. Steph, defending the exclusivity of the League Champions Club, only needs a tie. This kingdom was submitted by Assemble Me. Thank you, Assemble Me, for submitting this kingdom. Look at this big pile of stank. Yes, and there should be estates, not shelters here. Very good.
And they will have to restart until... who's got the last start here? Whoever didn't start the last board.
Okay. So now we're just getting Steph to be start player here. I just wanted to make sure they weren't only starting over because of the start player and the estates weren't. Great.
Yes. Now we get to play the waiting game, waiting for Goko to let the right player start.
It's the Goko dance.
It is. And sometimes Goko just wants to dance for a long time.
And Lesbuter resigns the game. Steph is the league champion. No, I'm kidding.
Tadpole Loop, this is a different tournament than the one that's on the forums right now. This is the Season 10 championship match for the Dominion League that runs in 5-week chunks pretty continuously throughout the year.
Oh, this is so good. Oh, I love
Goko
I
just
love
likes
starting
you.
like 6 games in a row just to get the right start player.
I
It's so
mean,
good.
you have to keep dancing with Goko at least until this song is over.
I prefer tap. Tap is definitely my favorite style of dance by a lot. Um, it's very challenging to do a lot of the footwork and then like the getting rhythmically precise. Oh, hey, look, Steph is start player. Let's begin the game.
Sweet.
So this board, yeah, Procession is a really good card. It's the only village. The thinning is Hermit and Salvager. Salvager getting rid of those coppers is important, but a giant pain in the tuchus. I feel like the core of this engine is probably revolving around Oasis and Menagerie and that synergy. You really want to be drawing as much as you can with Menagerie because the villages are so limited with Procession.
Yeah, the hermits can pick up those oases and menageries. There's all kinds of stuff going on with procession here. You got Pearl Diver you can use as a village and turn into oasis and menagerie. Thinning coppers with salvager is unfortunate, but it's important to get a little more reliability out of your menagerie. But you can do some procession chain up through salvager and get a couple coppers while grabbing a rabble or something like that.
Yeah, I think there are some really interesting considerations when you're building this deck. The first of them is you're going to be playing Hermit a lot to gain things, and Menagerie and Oasis are super good. So like, it seems pretty clear to me as long as there are Menageries in the pile, you'll probably just want to gain them and with some balance of Oasis. But there will come a point when you get enough density with your processions that you really want to consider getting Pearl Divers with your buys so that when they are processed, they stay non-terminal. So that's something that you have to consider. I wouldn't be surprised to see that here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can pick up the pearl divers with hermits or whatever, and when you process those, you get a second chance to use them as a village. It's really not hard to get your actions out of procession with the vast quantity of cantrips that are on this board.
Yeah, the other thing is, at its core, this is still a deck that's based around Menagerie's drawing capability, which means adding payload to it can be difficult in this case because after Oasis, there's really no other source of virtual money. So like you're really leaning on treasures heavily, and yes, Oasis can help, but it's going to make greening a little interesting. So it's going to be interesting to see how they approach it. Looks like a double Hermit opening from both of them, which I think is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, that seems pretty good here. I mean, you want Menagerie, you want Oasis, and Hermit can gain. You don't have the problem you have sometimes with Hermit, where you run out of threes that you really want. Um, but Wandering Winder asked, he's totally sure that Hermit into Rabble Big Money isn't.
Oh, it gets totally crushed, man. I tried it. It's 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 pretty sad. I mean, Saboteur really just ices that strategy. There, it's pretty. No, it doesn't work. No bueno.
Yeah, Adam played a money against me on this engine, and I will say I do not know how to build this engine. This is the type of board where I pretty much shut my brain down and pretty much just say, another Menagerie feels good right now, so let's get that. And
Yeah.
I accidentally stumbled into rabbling two provinces onto the top of uh, Adam's deck and then processing Saboteur. So that's pretty devastating.
Let me just point out, Lespeter bought an outpost on turn 4. He doesn't have any menageries in his deck. He does have a madman. This okay, may end up working out for him here, but I really think Salvager there is better than outpost, and even then you may be able to do better. Uh, wow, that seems like a really questionable buy.
Yeah, I don't know. DG did mention that you might want an outpost really early here, and I think there is some merit to that. But
Of
not
course, I
having
mean,
any menageries makes that a little bit surprising.
yeah, Menagerie is a prime enabler for that. I totally agree. But man, turn 4 before any Menages seems really premature. I mean, it might work out for him here because he could Madman, play the outpost, play Hermit, and gain a Menage and still kick off. Even though that's still pretty far fetched.
Yeah, I mean he will be shuffling his deck when he plays the Madman here, so it's going to be depending on how many cards are there, he may be able to he may not be able to gain a menagerie and have any hope of drawing it. She can't say no has just pointed out that if you have a Hermit on your outpost turn, it's pretty much a free gain of a 3 cost, so that is also something that can work out reasonably well.
3 cost or a Madman. Oh man, wow, look at this. This draw is turning out really well for Lespeter, so this outpost is doing pretty good. Now granted, there's no Menagerie in those 5 cards, so he's going to have somewhat of a gimp turn, but I think his other Hermit's in there, and an Oasis. Yeah, so that has to be his Oasis if I've tracked his deck properly.
Yeah,
So
it is.
this has really turned out for him.
Yeah, so he can gain a 3 cost and a Madman here, or a Pearl Diver if he doesn't want a Madman, but
Well, Madman's got to be good for now. He still hasn't thinned any of his coppers.
yeah. He is picking up the Pearl Diver.
I mean, Hermit's still a pretty good card. I mean, Hermit as a gainer is still pretty relevant. So
Yeah,
I'll
Hermit
reserve
is
judgment.
definitely a good card to have, and processing Pearl Divers, as we discussed earlier, is excellent.
Yeah. So with some good draws, Lesputer could just straight up run away with it. Now Steph is putting together a deck that's pretty good. He has more Oases. I think Steph has 3 Oases and the same number of Menages, and now his second procession. So like, Steph's doing pretty good. It'll be time shortly for a salvager from each one of them.
Mhm. Well, yeah, and we see here on Steph's next turn that he has a guarantee of triggering his Menagerie here.
Oh, it
Whatever
feels
he draws
so
with
good.
Oasis. If it's a copper, he can discard it and trigger that Menagerie.
Whatever it is,
So
he can just discard it. It feels really good to look at a hand like that. The only thing that would feel better to me is if he had 2 Menages instead of 2 Oases. But man, you're being picky there.
well, and the second Menagerie is probably going to be sad with the number of coppers they both still have at this point. But never a guarantee, especially when you have more Oasis to play.
All right, I'm just gonna straight up take back the question on Lespeter's turn 4 outpost. Like, granted, the next shuffle it worked out for him, but I like the play now. It's reasonable. And good on him for spotting that. It's really worked out for him because even if it just gives him 3 coppers on his turn, that's super good at this point. So like, yeah, good on him for that. Seriously, like, super well done.
Yeah, the outpost has a lot of things that can happen on that 3 card turn. 3 cards is not really nearly as much of a negative as it usually would be with all of the things going on this board.
So, Menagerie Split is somewhat relevant here. Steph gets that outpost. What is the Menagerie Split right now? I want to say it's 4 each. I think it is. Ooh, Lesputer, an uncomfortable situation here. He does have to process that menagerie for double sadness. But
He does get to play 2 hermits here,
yeah,
so he
that
can
makes
pick the
it
menagerie back up. He can
totally
drain the
worth it.
pile if he so chooses.
Yeah, and then at this point, you really have to strongly consider going for 2 madmen as opposed to buying a 3 cost. I believe that's all of your gainers, uh, which is it's not the best thing. I mean, Hermit as a gainer to just gain stuff, salvager food, is
Hmm.
still pretty good.
He did choose to take the madman, but he gained a hermit with the second one, so he
Sure.
still has one around.
So he didn't pile the menageries. I find that a little strange. I probably would have just drained the menageries without thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, when you have the piles contested here, it's you gotta pay attention to who has the cards, and if you run yourself out of menageries and don't have any draw left, then you could get yourself in trouble.
Okay, so he chooses to play a Hermit as opposed to Oasis discarding it. A lot of really small differences in play, meaning significant things. I mean, now that he's saved that Oasis, he can discard the duplicate copper. So like,
Yeah.
there's every time you click an action card, it's just a difficult decision.
Yeah, you see that play he made pays off here as he's able to activate his other menagerie. Uh, he is thinking about something else right now, though.
Well, probably lots of things that we could never comprehend as mere mortals. So Procession Oasis seems somewhat of a clear move to do here, but you know there are other paths to take. You may want to keep the Oasis around or something like that.
Hmm. And we're going to see the piles run really fast here over the next couple of turns.
Yeah, there are 6 processions in the world. Yeah.
And yeah, processing those threes end up turning into processions, and the Oasis, you can gain those with Hermit, you can gain those with Pearl Diver process. Not sure if Steph has any Pearl Divers. I think those might be one in the trash and one in Lesputer's deck.
DG has predicted that Steph will win on his next turn. A bold prediction.
I would not put money down against him on that.
Now I'm assuming Outpost turn doesn't count. But given that Lesputer has a pretty stanky hand right here, I mean he can play Outpost, but it certainly takes away a lot of potential. We could realistically see that happen.
Yeah, he won't really be able to get a double turn, but if he can pick up a hand with a menagerie, he could kick off next turn and have at least one decent playthrough.
So Steph is probably trying to track how many of certain copies of cards he has. I think he's definitely playing the Outpost, but is he going to play the Hermit and try and gain something he feels like he needs? Maybe like non-terminals. He did process 2 Oases this turn, I think.
Hmm.
So he
I
may
mean,
be trying to seed with non-terminals here with the Hermit, or he could just thin a copper.
yeah. I mean, there may even be with the right draw some way for him to end the game on his outpost turn, but that that is more than I would try to think about. This is for the league championship, though.
Yeah, the stakes are super high, and I feel like this is a very high skill game. Lots of
Oh,
tiny decisions can really snowball.
picked up 2 madmen, which could go a long way toward turning this turn into something where he can pile out those oases and processions.
Yeah, so how many gains does Steph have? I mean, if you count Procession and Hermit and all of the things, I mean, you really want to be gaining 3 cost cards, but can you really think Steph could legitimately end the game this turn? That seems.
Well, if he processes his hermit, he can gain 2 oases and a procession. He can process, menagerie, oasis, drain out the rest of the processions, and salvage something buy an oasis and an estate. Doesn't seem too difficult.
It yeah, that it wouldn't totally blow my mind if it happened. It would just be like a 60-55%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to be making any bets on whether it'll happen, but I don't think it's too crazy to think it could be possible.
So Steph is going to be gaining a good number of 5 costs this turn. Wouldn't surprise me if one of them was a counting house. Well, he doesn't have nearly enough oases. Okay, never mind. I'm just kidding. Counting house is just terrible because Rabble is there, and it's just much better. Anyway, ignore me, please.
Does need to get to that hermit to make it happen, I think.
Oh, there's a madman. So, both madmans. So, deck appears to be drawn. Does he have any hermits? I don't think he saw any hermits.
I believe he has one left. Maybe I'm incorrect on that.
Yeah, he madmaned both 2 hermits last turn. Maybe there's none left.
No, maybe he doesn't have them. Now, if he processes a salvager, he could still. If he gets another salvager as well, he could get 4 buys, which is what he will need. I think that he does not have a hermit anymore, as Wandering Winder just asked, since he turned 2 into Madman.
So getting Salvager here to salvage some of these fivers could provide some economy that he needs. He's got 2 salvagers for 3 buys. I think he still is going to be gains short of this, but you know, a single.
He did gain processions during this chain, so I think he can process 2 salvagers for up to 5 buys.
Oh, and he can also process a menage to get that last procession. Ooh, well, I think yeah, you just madman a couple things. This could be it. This could be it.
Yeah,
does
I think
he have
he's
it?
got it right here.
I think he, yeah, process, menage, salvager, salvage all of the things. Yeah, this is gonna be it.
Yeah, definitely. He can process that menagerie for the last procession, and he's already got $1 million.
Wow. Oh, this is exactly the kind of ending that I wanted to see.
At first turn advantage.
There it was. Wow, look at that.
Steph holds down the exclusivity with himself and Mixinock for the league champions with that impressive outpost turn pile out.
Oh man, look at it. That's
turn game.
Yeah, well, 8.5 turns, and man, just 1 to or 6 to 0, but nah, 1 to 0, because it's cooler. Oh, what a match! Oh, I'm squeeing so hard. Anyway, to everyone out there, thanks for watching. It's weekday afternoon in America, but we still had a good showing in the U.S. of A. Thanks to Stefan Lespeter. Looks like the video on the stream is going to go bye-bye real quick. So I'm going to cut the stream. We'll be around in the chat for a little bit. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll do another shameless plug, Forum Survivor 3. We need one more person to join, please.